James, what's
Yeah.
the 1 or 2 week patch of weather that's actually nice to be in Chicago? Like if I was going to be there, what is that little 2 week patch that it's actually nice
I would say the end of August before, right before Labor Day, like right where we are now, is like ideal.
right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I would have guessed September. I would have guessed September.
yeah.
Yeah.
September can get a little chilly. I mean, August you can still get to 80s. So September, you're flirting with 30s and 40s and 50s. You just never
Uh,
know. And so it's El
so
Nino, La Nina. I don't even know what those systems are called, but it's kind of like you just flip a coin, man, and that's what you're gonna get. So I don't know.
that's awful. I'm so glad I moved to Florida. So nice here.
You
That was
have a freaking hurricane right now. Are you kidding me?
It's 85 and sunny out right now. Look at the sun on my face. Can't you see the sun on my face? It's sunny out right now.
it's
That's
well.
It's
like,
He's in the eye
beautiful.
of the hurricane. He's getting nice light in the eye of the hurricane.
yeah, okay, yeah,
So we
all
got to
right.
make sure anytime there's a hurricane coming, we should record a podcast. We should get Kane on real quick.
Well, I would refuse to have to rebuild a home every 5 or 6 years. That just to me that sounds.
Just
Isn't that the whole point about going to Florida, to be like near a body of water, like to
yeah.
be on the ocean or the Gulf? Isn't that the whole
Well,
point?
I mean, I don't know if listen, Ref Masters hasn't made it yet, so I can't afford the water.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
15
because
minutes from
some
the
of those
beach.
places I saw when I went and visited him down in Naples. I mean, I told you, Sony. I mean, good God, like that's a whole nother level of wealth, baby. So we got to get on Ref Masters. Did we get
Hey,
Zuckerberg yet? Did we
with
get Mark?
with climate change though, the water might be coming to you, Kane.
Yeah, I picked a good spot. I'm like 20 years away from beachfront.
Have the house all paid off and be right on the
Yeah.
beach.
Perfect.
What
Nice.
what climate change? Climate change doesn't exist. What are we talking about here?
It doesn't exist in Florida.
No, no,
Nope.
not at all.
Sure.
Neither did COVID. Nothing exists in Florida. Just
No.
you
We
gotta
plead
kind
the
of
fifth in
on your own
Florida.
plan down there. You're on your own thing down there. Hey, God bless you all. You're part of the 50. We still love you, Florida. We love you
We
greatly.
we plead the fifth from Tallahassee to Mar-a-Lago, the entire state. It's our new state motto. So
It's like the states to me. They're like, if you got kids, some of them you prefer over other kids. You will never say that, right? But you got your favorites. You have your
hmm
favorites. Everybody knows it, but you'll never say it. It's like, so, we
Sony,
love Florida. We love Florida. They're
we
not
got
one of our
we got to
favorites.
make sure we keep this for when he finally moves to Florida. We're gonna play this over and over and over again on a loop.
It would be
we'll play the
because
No doubt.
there's no state tax, right? There's no state
No,
tax.
no
That
sir.
is the one reason why I would move to Florida. Now, listen, Governor Pritzker, please, 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 if we can do something about the taxes here in the state of Illinois. I mean,
Ain't
really, they are brutal. Please,
never
Governor,
coming back.
do something. Yeah,
yeah
my property tax
Only
bill
way that
is ridiculous.
only way that's going is this way.
yeah James.
And I
You're
guess
right.
so.
The state tax has been so good, and with my ref master salary, my taxes are like zero.
Now, that could be an IRS agent who's a referee listening to this, and they're going to want to dive into why Sony's not paying any taxes. So
That's
it's
it.
because he's such
Nothing.
an amazing guy. He actually took this role on as CEO without a salary, folks. I mean, like,
Yeah.
so just, yeah, I mean, that's, that's why we got to
Actually,
get it going.
if you think about it, everyone on this call, including producer Alvi, is we're all doing this for free. So
Yeah.
As it relates to
here
Ref
we
Master.
are.
Yes.
And James,
That's
if there
correct.
is an issue with the IRS, I'll just recite the state motto. I plead
Which
the fifth.
is.
That's it. We're good. Exactly.
Mhm.
This is our very long, cold, now warm intro to episode 2 of the Call in the Crowd, a Ref Masters podcast. Thanks for listening in. And we thought it would be fun today we didn't expect to talk politics and taxes. We actually thought we would come in today and talk a little bit about traveling. Not traveling
Yeah.
overseas, but traveling in the game of basketball, which
Yeah.
is always a beloved topic of discussion for fans, for players, coaches, and also referees, as I'm learning.
Absolutely.
Not a referee myself, but the last several months breaking bread with referees, I see that they also have a peculiar interest in the traveling violation. And so Kane, I think, in particular, had an angle on this. And Kane, I'm really interested to kind of get your thoughts on why fans like myself and others just don't understand traveling.
Yeah, so my theory is, since my son and daughter are in that playing age, they're, young teenagers now, and I've been watching them play since they were middle schoolers and younger than that. I really think it boils down to, as parents and coaches, we watch our children from the time they pick up a ball until the time they get through high school and maybe even into some lower level college stuff. We watch referees call travels that are not travels all the time. So anything that looks like a travel, they call it. And it's become so ingrained in the fan and the coach and the parents that watch their children that anything that looks funny is a travel. And so people get used to it now, and now they move on to big time college basketball fans, and their kids stop playing ball and they're watching the NBA, and they're seeing moves out there that are like, oh, that looked weird. Why didn't you call it travel? And there's just so much more to it. And not to mention the differences in the rule between the professional game and the high school and college game. So it's always a hot topic. It's always fun to talk about. But my theory is people just get used to officials seeing travel called incorrectly for so many years over and over and over again that they just assume anything that looks funny is now a travel and they expect it. And when professionals or people who are, understand the rule a little bit better are not calling things that are awkward but legal, they get upset.
So, what do you feel like are the things that get called as travels at younger, earlier levels, at lower levels that are not really travels?
I see a lot of like jab step with an upper body fake and then go get called travels right away, even though the player is keeping their pivot foot, just because that upper body movement makes it look different. A lot of step throughs, which you see like the WNBA players are fantastic at it, and the referees are great at officiating correctly. So like pump fake, step through to a layup, that gets called a travel a bunch in the kids game. And you don't really see it a lot in the men's game, so it kind of surprises referees that work boys basketball, or even up into the men's college and in the pro game. You do see it, like the European players are very good at it, so I see it done well in the field. I'm watching a little bit of FIBA ball right now, and they're good at the step through, and the officials there are really good at calling it correctly. So I just think it's not a move used a lot on the men's side. So in the United States, you see referees called all the time because they get surprised. They're not finding the pivot foot and watching the footwork of the player. They're just refereeing space, and all of a sudden something looks weird and everybody yells and they call it travel.
I think sometimes also fans have this misconception about steps in between a dribble that's not a gather. It's like, well, there's a lot of steps. Like there's just like it's a very not scientific knee-jerk reaction. Like I just see a lot of steps. There's just traveling in there somewhere,
Right. Yeah, as long as you're dribbling the ball, there's no rule against how many steps you can take. You can dribble it really high and keep your hand on top of it by your head, and if you can stomp your feet 20 times before the ball comes down, there's nothing against that.
Yeah.
It's really what you do when you pick the ball up.
And to that point, Sony, I think this was last season. I was in Indiana, and we had a play where one play that a lot of fans, players, coaches think is a travel is when people bobble the ball as they're running, right? So this happened in Indiana, and shout out to TJ McConnell, because I'm going to give him a quick shout out right here. So TJ, good guy there in Indiana. So we have a timeout after this. I don't know how much time has transpired, but he comes to me in the timeout and he asks why this is not a travel. And so I explained to him, your steps don't count while you're bobbling the ball. So literally you can go, 20 steps. If you're bobbling the ball, none of those steps count. Not one. It's completely 0, 0, 0, right? And I knew what he was going to say after that because I've heard it so many times. So he goes, "Do you mean to tell me I can bobble the ball all the way down the court and it's not a travel?" I said, "Absolutely. You are 100% right." I said, "See, you're already learning. You're already a better referee now." And sure enough, the same thing happened later in the game where a guy's bobbling it again, and it is a few steps in there. And he looks at me. I caught his eyes because I was looking for him, because I knew I was going to, see, it just happened again, and it's not a travel. He's like, "Ah, I got it. I got it." And so that is one that if you're bobbling the ball, there are no steps until you have possession of it. And then then your step count starts. So that's one where I know people really they think it's always a travel, and it's not. It's not.
Yeah. So what's the worst response you ever got to a traveling call before? Not from a player necessarily, just from your environment. Could be fans, could be a coach, player, but you don't have to name names or anything. But what's one of the hardest kind of worst responses you got to a travel call?
It's usually the surprise reaction, like what, and it's like, what are you talking about? And they're always very surprised when you call travel. And you try to explain to them what you did, what they did, and the immediate response is usually, "No, I didn't." And then, what are you going to do at that point? You say, "Okay, well, I'll go back and I'll look at it and I'll let you know." But I always like to throw in, "I hope you do the same." Like, hey, why don't you take a look at it? I know you can see it too. Go and see it and see if I was right versus me always having to report back. It's usually just that really surprised look, like, what are you calling? And
Yeah. It's like for the fans, I know it's kind of, I just kind of have fun with it when, like I've heard, when I call a travel, I've heard to the NBA, they don't call, you don't call a travel into the NBA. And I'll
that's
just
good,
throw my
yeah.
hands up and shrug my shoulders like, well, that's news to me. So just keep it moving. But I don't know. It's something where from the fans perspective, it's always the other way. Like they think it should be called way more than it actually should. And I know even for myself, when I go back and look at film, if I call a travel, I'm telling you, I'm probably right 80% of the time. And the other 20 is because it looked like Kane said earlier, it's like, oh man, that had to be a travel. And when I go back and look at it, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
And because I gave into that moment. So fans think it should be called way more than it actually should be because they are just that good with their footwork.
And you got to remember, the players are constantly working on these moves. Like they're hours and upon hours in the gym, thousands of hours in the gym, practicing this one move, working on the footwork.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Curry step back or all the different the Euro step that they do. They have all these moves that they practice all the time. So you really want to be sure when you call a travel, because it's a turnover for that player. It's a turnover for the team. You're taking the possession away. So last thing you want to do is just call and guess on something that's not real, and then you take away all that hard work the player has been working on that move for. The a possession from the team, which is so important in basketball, especially in the pro game. And then it's just bad discipline on the referee's part. Like part of our work is that we stay disciplined and we don't guess. So if you
Yeah.
didn't see the pivot foot and you don't know that it's illegal, then don't call it. Don't guess on a play that you're not sure about.
Right. And then the growth to what he just said is if I didn't get it this time, well, then I got to make sure I get it the next time and the next time after that. Because again, like Kane said, it is part of our work and it's extremely important. Possessions are important, man. Every possession is important. And I think it's even more so in the lower levels because they have less time, right? High school games are 32 minutes. A college game is 40. NBA is 48. So you got less time to make up for our mistakes. And so we really want to be diligent with that. It's not just like a throwaway call. It's important. And we want to be as accurate as we possibly can with that because it has huge impact in the game.
It's funny, you were talking about how frustrated fans will get when a perceived travel is not called. It's almost like fans have a death wish, like they want the game to be 3 hours long. You know, there's always an argument about like, why isn't this called? Why isn't that called? It's like, so you want to call it, and then maybe the other aside that that comes to mind is I hate when people. This is even for me playing in adult league or playing pickup. When people are arguing about travel calls that are like 60 feet away from the hoop in a non-contested matchup, like I don't know if that factors into your lens as an official, but I know for me as a player, as a fan, I'm like, if this whatever movement with the ball didn't even gain a competitive advantage, like it seems kind of like we're picking at nits here.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, it doesn't really factor into what we're doing on the NBA floor. You we're working the system and sticking to our mechanics and sequencing the play. So it's you pick up the pivot foot, you referee the pivot foot to the legal release, and then you move on to the defender. So and like when our men and women are working best when we're sequencing that play constantly. So as soon as you get the catch of the ball, you get right to the pivot foot. You have the pivot foot. You're on that until the ball is put down legally, and then you move to the defender. You're doing that. You could tell your level of focus when you're
Right.
picking up every pivot foot every time the ball swings in your primary. So,
That's cool. The other thing there I was thinking about was now I'm seeing players like you said they practice these moves hours upon hours, and now I feel
Yeah.
like there's even a bit of a art and a craft to developing moves that almost look like violations but are not, like trying to come right to the edge of the rule but not going over the line. I'm seeing a lot of that now from particularly from social media, like on TikTok and
Oh
Instagram.
yeah.
yeah.
I see people showing plays. There's even one I've been seeing. It's not so close to the line of a violation or not, but I think it's called the Pinoy step, and it came from the Philippines, and it's this kind of move where on the first step, it's like kind of a, 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 a pump fake going up, and then it
Hmm.
looks like they take an extra step because they go up a
Yeah.
step earlier than
To show the
what you
ball real
look
early
like
in
they
the
show
move.
early, right? So it looks like
Yeah.
there's an
Yeah.
extra step in there, but then when you look at it, it's not. It's actually just the two steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, that really started with the step back, right? Because no one did a step back ever. People it was always you gather the ball on your drive to the basket, you take your two steps, you lay it up, you dunk it, whatever. It was your steps after the gather were always going towards the basket. As long as basketball has been played, since Naismith came up with the peach basket, that's the way people did it. And then the step back came in, and so clearly that must be a travel because the steps are there. They go counter to what people know, right? And it's it's for officials, it's not about how it looks. To Kane's point earlier, it's really about the mechanics of getting to their feet on the gather. And now, and in the NBA, I can't speak to college, but in the NBA, if I gather the ball with my left foot on the floor, that is considered zero, right? That is considered step zero. And I am allowed two steps in either direction, north, east, south, west, after that. And my step can be a foot, or if I'm 7 feet tall, my one step might be 3 feet, right? And so if my one step is 3 feet long, I can theoretically probably cover 6 feet in two steps. That's all legal. And that's where, I think if we could educate fans and players and coaches and whoever else, that is what's important. It's not how the distance, it's not the direction.
Hmm.
It's about gather on that foot is zero. You get two after that, and that's it. It's really not that hard.
Yeah, and I think that's in lies the big difference between like high school and college and the professional game is that I think when you gather the ball in the professional game, that's not your first step. So if that foot is on the ground when you gather the ball, it's not considered the first step. but in high school and college, it would be. So if you pick up the ball with a foot on the ground, you only get one more step after that. So the difference in the rule plays a big part of that. That kind of misconception that we don't call travels in the professional game, and it's great to see the social media play with it though. I've seen a couple crazy ones where they're picking the ball up on the gather step right at the end of the step, so they're launching themselves and then spinning off that next foot and then landing on the other foot. So it's only two ridiculously long steps with a spin in between. And at first, I was looking, I was like, "That's travel." And then you slow it down, slow motion, pause. No, it's not. So I hope they don't start using that in the game because it's too much. It's too much.
Line when Sony sent that on the Instagram, the one that we saw,
Yeah.
I watched it like 4 or 5 times at different speeds, and after the 5th time, I said, "I'm done. I have no idea. I know I do this for a living, but I don't know." So I don't know what to tell you.
Some of this is like the difference between like theoretical mathematics and applied engineering. Like, okay, so theoretically, I guess it's not, but until I start seeing someone actually do this in a game, and Kane, maybe we saw the same one. I saw this one. This guy, he actually does a lot of these plays on Instagram. I got to look him up. I'll share it we'll share it on TikTok and Instagram. But he came down on both feet. And then he did like a twirl in the air as his first step. And you're like, this is like, my brain is exploding right now. But yes, when you watch it a bunch of times,
That's the
like,
one.
I see no travel in there, but it just feels like
Right.
you said, as officials, you don't go for feel or look, like you go off of the mechanic, right? But yeah, as a fan, as someone that's not disciplined like that way, it just hurts my head sometimes.
That one hurt my head too. That was too much.
Yeah, you're not alone. You're definitely not alone.
I got some other stuff I wanted to chat about, but before I go there, anything else on traveling? Any other thoughts here on traveling? You guys want to excavate this topic any further?
You know, I think it's always a fun topic to discuss. You know, because everybody's played basketball at some point in their life, and so everybody, you know, thinks they're experts on travels. I get that because that's, you know, they've played the game coming up, maybe just in a league or high school or some college. I would just say, you know, hey, Ref Masters is there to educate everybody. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to really just give people some insights as to there's no conspiracy here. There really isn't. If we do miss a travel, it truly is. It's a miss. That's it. I don't care who the dribbler is. I don't care who the team is. I don't care what the score is. I just missed it. So if that's one thing I could get across to folks about as it relates to travels, we do our best to get them right as often as we possibly can. But these folks are so good. They are so fast. You know, we're not going to get them all. I'm not going to get them all. And when I get fooled, I'm watching the film to try to help myself get better at seeing that particular play. So the next time, hopefully I don't get fooled again.
So there isn't a section in the rule book that says that star players get an extra step or anything like that? Because I heard this conspiracy. It's like a flat earther conspiracy.
Yeah. So I actually went to lunch yesterday with a buddy of mine, and he plays basketball. He's a huge basketball fan. And he brought this up about the traveling. I'm like, wow, that's kind of interesting because we're going to be talking about traveling on our podcast here coming up. But he started off literally with, so when LeBron does, and I'm like, oh, I immediately went to my head like, oh, here we go. You know, if it's LeBron, KD, Steph, Tatum, you name them, everybody thinks we just, you know, the rules don't apply. That's just not true. We just missed
it's not. We tend to miss more on the players who have the ball all the time. It's just math. They have the ball more. We're going to miss more plays for them. It's just math.
Yeah. So, you know, there's nothing in the rule book that says this rule applies to every player except superstars. Doesn't exist. I know, even though I just said that, half the people that are going to watch this won't believe a word I just said. I already know that. So all I can do is say, hey, we're also looking for referees. If you can do it, please come on out. Come on out here and help us out. We would love to have you. and then we'll critique your ability to get travels on the floor. Absolutely, and we'll do it with compassion.
Wait, with compassion? Are you sure?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That'll be fun. So you're not gonna stand there in the stands and yet yell "Ref, you suck."
Yeah,
No.
no,
Maybe the
no.
T-shirt, the Ref Masters T-shirt.
Yeah.
I would. I would.
So I wanted to pivot a little bit here. We're coming down the stretch of the MLB baseball season. We've got now college football, pro football coming up. We've never talked about this. What is your affiliation? What is your relationship to other sports? Do you both spend a lot of time watching other sports? Are you particular fans of any teams or any other sports? Just curious what your relationship is to football, baseball, hockey, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I love all the sports. I played everything when I was a kid, so I try and watch a majority of the playoffs for every professional league. So anytime I can get in and like the playoffs roll around, I'm watching hockey, I'm watching football, I'm watching baseball playoffs. I'll even check out a little like the EuroLeague games. I'm watching FIBA basketball right now, so I'm just a sports fan. Anytime the games are intense, I'm watching.
Yeah, I think that's like a big misconception that fans have is that we're not human. I think that's a huge misconception that we are actually human beings. Yes, and we absolutely love sports. That's why most of us are referees. We either play or we just love the game. Most of us played something. I played baseball. Kane played basketball. We're sports addicts. And yeah, I mean, I live here in Chicago, where it's got great weather all year round. Highly recommend it. Huge Cubs fan. There's one team in Chicago. They're on the north side. There's nothing on the south side. I'm just letting you know that right up front.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And so I'm absolutely watching the Cubs or going to Wrigley, checking out some games. As it relates to hockey, black people don't watch hockey because we don't do anything with cold. We don't ice skate. We can't even ice skate.
You talking about it's cold watching a baseball game in Chicago? It's freezing there.
Well, I don't say I'm always
I've been
at
to
the
Wrigley.
game though. Like I
I've
can
been to
watch it
Wrigley,
from the
ice
comforts of
cold.
my home.
I was frozen.
Yeah, well, listen. If they're involved in games in October, late September and October, you can bet I'm going to be there.
I feel like there's another theme to our podcast, which is our podcast is kind of about officiating, but it's kind of also about what black people do and don't do. And I feel like every episode we've got a new thing. I'm like learning
that it's how I roll.
So what are you living in Chicago for?
Good point.
Like sushi, no Chicago sushi. Cubs, yes. Cold, yeah. No. So it's just we got to put these in different shelves.
Black people won't sit at a sporting event for 2 or 3 hours while it's freezing out. We're just not gonna do that. That's not happening, man. No way.
I can tell you right now, I'm not gonna either. So
that's because my good friend Kane has some black in him. That's what it is. I'm telling you.
I'm not touching this topic, but I support you, man. The weather is great in Chicago, and anything you say about the racial discrepancies and different preferences, I'm there for it. I was going to say when we talk about what half Indian, half Italian people do and don't do, then I can opine on that one. All 5 of us in the United States, because there's like 5 of us. I could tell you who do. It's very rare. Now, let me ask you: have you ever met another person that will tell you, yeah, one parent is Indian, one parent is Italian? Have you ever met someone like that?
Nope.
I don't. But to be fair, I don't think I've ever really asked. So yes, there's got to be more than 5. I'm assuming there's like 8 or 9.
Okay, high single digits. High single digits. I'll get you on that. I mean, it really is rare. It's really rare. Anyway, it's like we're I would say almost going extinct. So we'll see what happens. But Um, here's another question. Okay, so you both are like all the sports. I was talking to someone about this recently, and I'm wondering what your opinion is. If there was one sporting event, obviously, not basketball related, but one sporting event that you could go to, a World Series, and it could be specific stadium or a place, a Stanley Cup, a title boxing match, a golf tournament, or a tennis match, or I don't know, Kane. I don't know pickleball that well, but whatever pickleball, whatever the pantheon of events is for pickleball,
Yeah,
what would
yeah.
be that one event if you could go to?
Good question.
I'll put one out while you both are thinking. I
Yeah.
don't even play this sport, but I would find it really interesting to go. I would love to go to watch the Masters tournament in Augusta, and I suck
Mm,
Oh,
at golf. But it would just be I like the idea of being there for multiple days, and maybe starting with a
yeah.
couple of pros that I've always followed, and then over the last day and a half, 2 days, following whoever's in the lead. It's just something really cool. Obviously the whole feel of it would be really neat and special, I think, to attend at least once. Now, James, I don't know if there is a
Yeah.
ruling on whether certain races go to Augusta or they don't.
Well, since they started allowing black members about 30 years ago, yeah, we go.
We go. Okay.
Uh,
Good.
but
Good.
I've actually been to Augusta, and I'm telling you, if that's on your bucket list, 100% highly recommend it, man.
Yeah.
Augusta is TV literally doesn't do it justice with how beautiful that course is.
Wow.
Um, it was a great experience for me. I actually got tickets through a friend. I couldn't afford those tickets. I was like 25, coming up in officiating, had no money, and we went to Augusta and we followed different people. Got to see Tiger, got to see Phil. Just an incredible experience, and I just remember how idyllic it looked. I was like, "Wow, this place is like stunningly beautiful." Like
mm,
um, and it's very hilly, which you don't get on TV. You don't really get to see that,
Hmm.
but you are walking up and down hills a lot at Augusta. So highly recommend it. For me, it would be like the Super Bowl of all sports. It would be like on my bucket list is to go to the Olympics. I would like Paris is
mm.
next year, the Summer Olympics. Because
Summer. I
remember
was going to
winter.
ask. Summer
Yeah.
Olympics. Okay.
Yeah. See, there you're learning, Sony. Gonna do the Summer Olympics. That is on my bucket list, and I'm contemplating trying to do that next year in Paris because I've never been to Paris either. So what a great opportunity to be able to go to all these different sports and see these elite athletes and their sport. I would love to do it. I've never done it. It's definitely something I would love to do.
Well, wait a second, real quick, before you go, Kane. James, as a kid, I learned that the very best bobsledders in the world are from Jamaica. The movie Cool Runnings. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't ask me
So
how
that
that.
that I wasn't totally obvious to me. I thought,
You
well,
know,
maybe
I,
you know.
I'm waiting for the like Cool Runnings. I'm waiting for like some kind of fallout, like The Blind Side. Like it's not what we thought it was.
There's a decent chance of that happening,
there,
right?
there might be more to the story. I don't know. But yeah,
When it's too good to be true, sometimes it is, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Kane, what would be your number one bucket list sporting event?
Uh, something that has their games the championship that has their games in a non-neutral site. So how the NBA Finals has their finals. They're all getting home games. So the NFL
Mhm.
kind of like the fact that it's in a neutral site kind of makes it like for me, like I want to see it. I want to feel the home crowd. I want to feel that like intensity. I think if I had to pick one, would be like I don't follow it closely. I just when I do watch it, it's amazing how intense the games are. I think I would do like Champions League or something in European football,
Oh yeah.
soccer,
Yeah.
where it's like the two best teams playing in somebody's home, country. I would like to see that. experience that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I could see
That's
that.
good.
That's a cool angle about not wanting to be in a neutral place. Um,
Yeah.
I think there's something to that for sure. Um,
Mhm.
our producer Alvi, who is not on audio right now, um, would still love to hear your perspective. What's your vote there, Alvi, on place to have a championship final? Oh,
Yeah.
Alvi said soccer for sure, because our audience can't hear Alvi. He's kind of an angelic being in the world of this podcast. He only appears to special people, and yeah, he says soccer as well. I could totally see that. One of my really good friends is a huge soccer fan, and he also maintains that that would be the number one thing to see. So, my number two is for similar reason to you, Kane and Alvi. My number two is the Stanley Cup Finals in Madison Square Garden, watching the Rangers specifically. And I think that environment, and I don't follow hockey as well as I used to, but I still like my Rangers, and certainly, yeah, being in that environment. When you watch a hockey game live, even if you're not a hockey fan, it is a lot of fun. It's one of those sports
Yeah.
that translates very differently, I think, on TV versus being there in person. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I think to me, hockey's too fast for TV, but in person, it's awesome.
it's awesome. Yeah.
And I get the same feeling about that, like in baseball. Baseball is the opposite. Baseball is too slow for TV, but I love going to a baseball game, like going to a major league game and sitting in the stands and getting a hot dog,
Baseball
and
with the
that whole
pitch clocks.
experience is fun.
Have you gone to a game with the clocks?
I
Because
haven't.
it's a
No,
lot faster now. It's amazing
is it?
how the game has sped up. I know the umpires appreciate it. I'm sure the players, they have their routines and things, and I think they've adjusted well to this new rule. I think
Players
baseball
always do.
yeah, players always
They
adjust.
always
They're that good.
imagine all the rule changes every year in every sport, and like it always goes off without a hitch because the players are that talented. They just figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's made a world of difference for the game of baseball, in my opinion. I've gone like 4 or 5 games this year, and it's like you look up and it's like, wow, we're in the 5th inning already. It feels like we just got here. And in the old days, you would have still been in the 2nd, So it's definitely made the games more exciting. There's more action and not a
Well,
lot of dead time in the game.
that makes me want to go back and watch a game. Then I'll do that.
What's the nearest team to you? Tampa Bay?
I
Or no,
guess
Miami?
Miami's
Miami's a
closer.
little
Yeah,
closer.
Miami's a 2 hour ride. Tampa's 2.5. So
Oh,
Yeah, I hate
take my wife to Miami. Maybe we get a night in Brickell. How do you say it? Brickell? Is it Brickell?
Brickell. Yeah, Brickell's.
Brickell, the downtown area of Miami, kind of just south of the arena there. It's really nice there. Lots of restaurants, shopping, not too far from baseball and everything. So
Yeah, shout out to Kane's wife, Milena. She's trying to get me down there. She's like sending me these nice condo listings in Brickell. Like, you would love it here. Like, what do you think about this? And I'm not gonna lie, when I open them up, I'm like, wow, this is nice. Like, this is I can see myself living here. Wow,
and
this
you'll
is
never need a jacket ever. Never.
something to consider.
yeah, man, you should come. We've got a red MAGA hat waiting for you, James.
We don't want to turn off half our audience. So, again, for the mega crowd, we love you.
We're not a political thing. It's all love
No,
on all
we
sides.
are not. We are
Everybody.
all about fun sports. See sports officials in a different light. Everybody's got their teams. Everybody is very passionate about their teams. We get that. So yeah, it's just another way to show people the human side of who we are as, the people with the whistles and things like that people love to hate. So,
And going back to Kane's wife, also shout out for supporting the barrage of different paraphernalia that is now taking up their household. Behind you, Kane, you've got this apparatus behind you, right? It's a nice background. So is the family getting used to this monstrosity?
I just slide it back and forth, in, out.
All right, not too
You know,
bad then.
today I just have the neutral background of it. I don't have the Ref Masters logo. I went with the Ref Masters T-shirt, so just switched up a little bit.
No, it's
You
a good
know,
look. It's a really good look. And James, you started off the session. Alvi did a really good job of getting
yeah,
you in the center. And then
Am
what's
I not?
happened is drift. You
he
drifted.
just slowly migrates.
Because
I feel
that's
like
because
you're
I'm 44 years old, and the older I get, the more the back starts to tighten up. So it's like, just part of it. So Avi will realize that in about 20 years, when he's in his 40s, he'll understand that sitting in one spot for too long just doesn't work, man. It just doesn't work, brother. So I'll try to get more, I don't know, here.
center.
You're working on it. It's getting
Center
better.
yourself.
I just don't want to have to post stuff on TikTok and Instagram like this. Like you have to work the lead position, that won't go as well. So that was my new imitation I just started of you, James. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So,
Want to go, Fitz?
Yeah, I mean it's just more of the fundamentals. I'm excited that we're making this a monthly thing because it's it's so important to becoming a better officials, learning how to break down tape, learning how to evaluate your positioning, learning where your head is looking, learning the mechanics of just body position. We'll get into those when we start talking about the lead on tomorrow night. But I'm just excited that it's going to be a consistent theme with Ref Masters. It's probably the most important thing you can do off the court to get better is learning how to break down film. So.
That's where some of the most exciting plays happen. And that's because the whole premise of the game is to put the ball in the hoop. And if you're the defense, the whole premise is to prevent the other team from putting the ball in the hoop. And so you have so much action that happens at that rim, whether it block shots, block charge plays, verticality plays. A lot of stuff happens in that lead position. And so, in my opinion, it's one of the most difficult positions on the floor to referee in basketball. And basketball already is one of the hardest sports to referee because there's so much subjectivity to what we do. And so you take the hardest sport to referee and the hardest position within that sport, it's going to be great because it's so much happens in that position. And if we can help officials get better at their accuracy in the lead, we're all for it. Very.
On top of the film sessions, we've also got some great events coming up in September. September 12th, we've got Haywood Workman coming in the studio for a 1 hour chat. We're calling it From Point Guard to Guardian of the Game. For those of you younger listeners out there, Haywood Workman was a really great NBA
Yep.
point guard, particularly in the 90s. I remember he was on some really strong Indiana Pacers teams. Larry Brown
Yep.
led, Reggie Miller, he had the Davis brothers. He was a really great player there and had a great career with some other teams as well. And he's also had a very solid, phenomenal career as a basketball official, as an NBA referee. So he's going to come in and talk with us about that transition. James Kane, what are you hoping to glean from that conversation with Haywood?
I'm excited because Haywood got into refereeing just about the same time James and I did, and he advanced really quickly, having that player background, and got into the NBA before we did. So I can't wait to hear that a little bit of that journey from him, and then just the perspective from both sides. Not too often you get the player and the referee's perspective from one person at that level, both at the professional level. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think I would love to hear from Haywood, like what were some of the big adjustments he had to make from being a player to a referee, because they're very different in so many ways. So I'm really excited to hear, what were some of the things when he first started refereeing. He's like, wow, I didn't know this when I played. I think that'll be exciting. And then also, if he's got some tidbits for players, right? We talk about there's a referee shortage out there, and there is in all sports. And so one of the great pools of talent are players. Obviously, not everybody can be a professional athlete. That's a very, very small number of folks. got a lot of people who played college, a lot of people who played high school. Is there some kind of advice you can give them to encourage them to maybe pick up a whistle or go out there on the diamond and start umpiring, whatever the case may be? So I'm really excited to hear about those things.
Yeah, you touched on it, James. I would love to ask Haywood a question like, knowing what you know now as a referee, if you could transport back to your time as a player, how would that influence your game? You know, I would love to get to the bottom of that. And that touches on something else that we're going to talk more about on this podcast and on the Ref Masters app and in the university sessions. We'll be talking more about this in the coming weeks and months, but rule IQ. What is your IQ of the rules of the game? And as a player or as a coach, how can you use your knowledge and understanding of the rules and apply it into the game for a performance edge to improve your performance? So I think Haywood's going to be a really awesome conversation talking about his experiences and also just his insight from multiple angles of the game. So neat stuff there. We've got another event at the end of September. It's called Communication with Coaches. And we've got some special guests for this session. James, you want to fill in our audience on who's going to be there for that one?
Yeah, so we're excited about that. We've got Micah Shrewsbury, who is the head coach now, actually at Notre Dame. So, and he was at Penn State, just got hired there at Notre Dame. So Micah's going to be joining us along with Vanessa Blair Lewis. She's the head coach there at George Mason, and former NBA player who's now a coach, Chucky Brown, who works or coaches in the CIAA, which is a Division II league. So we're excited to have those three folks on the panel where we can talk outside of the competitive environment of an actual game, where we can discuss communication, then something that helps us all get better as we try to manage is what we do as officials, very competitive coaches as well. So really looking forward to that event. I know I'm going to get something out of it, and I'm sure those people who are part of Ref Masters will also get something out of it.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to that. We've got a couple of other things that we'll be sprinkling in around the edges there, but definitely a month to look forward to. Gentlemen, this has been a lot of fun. We've touched on some topics, some expected topics, and we've kind of gotten off the beaten path and talked about things that I didn't expect to talk about with an audience of listeners out there. But nonetheless, it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We're not just one dimensional here at Ref Masters. We can talk about sports officiating and the mechanics of that. We can do that all day. We can also talk taxes, property values. We can solve all the world's problems right here in like an hour podcast. Boom, done. We're moving on.
Our next one, we'll talk pop culture. We'll get into the latest in film and TV. We'll talk about social economic issues. We can really solve everything: art, science, culture. Hopefully we just do a lot more of referee talk. That will probably be good. But anyway, thank you so much. If you've spent your time with us today, we know that you could be doing anything else, and you decided to listen to this podcast. On behalf of James, Kane, our producer, Alvi, and the entire Ref Masters team, we thank you for your time, and we hope to see you at one of our future events. Run the game.
Gucci.
Thanks, everybody.